Welcome to Clarksville Vibe, the show where we tell the stories of people who make Clarksville the best place to live in America. I'm excited about our guest today. I'm your host, Kevin Kennedy Jr. We got a great episode planned for you. But before we go, remember, this is season 1. We're telling the stories of people who are Clarksville natives, the people who say they've called Clarksville their home pretty much their entire lives. And if you would do us a favor, like, subscribe, interact with us somehow on any digital platform. It really helps us more than you know, helps us grow our online community, and helps us tell the story of why Clarksville really is a great place to live. Well, hey, let me tell you about today's guest. I'm super excited. This is a guy, one of the first people that I tagged, who you need to hear from him if you're part of our online community. He is a realtor with Cry-Like. He's got a staging and design business called The Draped Willow. He is a dreamer of big ideas, a man whose hustle is never sold separately. He is just always on the go, a guy with more game than Milton Bradley himself, right? So he is a guy that is just on his road to success, and he uses his success to leverage and help other people's along the way. This is Lanis Frederick, hometown legend, the man with the plan. Lanis, thanks for being on with me today.
Oh, man, absolutely. I appreciate the invite.
Yeah, super fun. We're so excited. Well, hey, we're going to jump right into it. We believe in high quality content, so we're just going to punch them right in the mouth.
Right, let's go.
All right, you're a guy, obviously, who's been around forever, born and raised here in town, and you are really an inspiring story of success for today. And by no means does that mean that your story's ended,
right?
But your story didn't start yesterday either. It's been a long story,
man.
right? So
yeah,
tell me a little bit, when you entered into working man Lanis, where'd you get into? Kind of where has your story been that's brought you all the way to this place where you're one of Clarksville's most recognizable realtors, and you're doing all kinds of other things on the side?
Well, for somebody like me, who grew up in poverty, who, didn't live in his first home until 12 years old.
Wow.
And my first home was Habitat for Humanity, where they help you become a homeowner. And, man, just growing up, and I guess in low income areas, now don't get me wrong, I had one of the best childhoods I can ever imagine.
Yeah.
But when you come from that, you're limited in your thinking. And when I was coming up, I always said, if I could just make $40,000.
Wow.
That was like, hey, you Donald Trump,
you
make $40,000, like you made it.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I got with my wife and I just seen a whole new way of living, a whole new lifestyle, where our idea of vacation, we drove to Cincinnati and came right back.
Right.
Didn't even get out the car.
Okay.
And so when I get with my wife and, we're 7 days at the beach, like, what
people do this?
Is this a life?
Right.
And my idea of eating steak was that little flat flank steak covered in A1 and like, well done.
That's
like,
right.
I mean, it was just a whole nother life that I never knew. I didn't know anything about sirloins and getting a medium well and these fancy T-bone steaks. Like what?
Yeah.
So when I started seeing that life, I said, I got to do whatever I can to get my kids that life.
Wow, that's
because
powerful.
I lived this one.
Sure.
And I don't like that one.
Yeah.
So, and I guess another thing is just really just taking the time to not only appreciate that life that I had, because it makes me appreciate this life even more.
Yeah.
So,
and there's value in that. When you hear people's stories who have come out of poverty or worked their way out of it, very rarely and almost never do you hear people frame that story as if they're somehow ashamed by it or somehow, not proud of where they've come from, because it has enrichment and nutrients to your life and who you are as a person along the way. And some of those lessons that you hear people share, that time in your life provided a lot of value and then helped move you forward into new opportunities.
And I'm sure you can attest to this. I know that you grew up a lot different than I did, but people see where you are now.
Yes.
And they think you just started there.
Yeah.
Like that is the absolute furthest from the truth. And I guess one thing about, coming up where I came from, I got friends who had the same opportunities.
Yeah.
but it's all about who you surround yourself with. So if I want to live like these people, I got to hang around these people to see. So when I went to go stay the night with some of my friends, I'm like, man, this is a nice house.
Sure.
You know, we grew up, our apartment was probably 800 square feet.
Okay.
If not less.
Brothers and sisters.
And I got 2 brothers.
Okay.
And,
yeah.
You know, we've never had our own room until we was like 15 and we started aging out.
Yeah.
So, but would I trade it for anything? I absolutely would.
Yeah.
Because that's what helps my grind. That's what really gets me the why that I need it.
Yeah.
Because don't get me wrong, my wife, she does very good for herself. She makes a good living. But one thing that scared me to death is if something happened to her, would I have to go back to that life?
Okay.
Because you're talking to somebody. When we first got together, we were on food stamps, WIC. Like, so people see us now and they think we were just born with a silver spoon. I'm like, that's not the case.
No.
You have to work to get to where you want.
Yeah. John Maxwell shared this story one time that I heard. He said, somebody came up to him right out of school, new MBA grad, and John asked this young man, hey, what do you want to do with your life? And the young man said to him, he said, I want to do what you do. That's what I want to do. And John said it was a very profound moment because I was able to share with him, you may want to do what I do, but are you willing to did what I did, right?
Oh,
that part of the journey was so profound and allowed him to appreciate and admire and endure the ups and downs of a long career.
Absolutely.
Because you do lose that perspective sometimes.
Oh,
but you told me you got started doing insurance. You got started, working with the elderly in some aspect. Tell me kind of how you got started in the working world.
So, of course, back when I was in like the 8th or 9th grade, soon we get out of school, a couple of guys, probably like 5 or 6 of us, used to race to this Chinese restaurant because the guy used to pay us $10 a day to go flood neighborhoods with flyers. And we used to run like who's going to get the $10 first. Like, so sometimes we left school early to be the first one to get there. And he'd put us in the back of his little S10 with a stack of coupons for his Chinese restaurant. But that's what molded me to as far as the hustle aspect. And then, I owned a lawn care business, and I just needed something to supplement my income while I was going to get my master's degree because I couldn't work because I was doing the fast track on my master's program at Austin Peay. So, I told my wife, I said, hey, I'm going back to school. And she was like, don't do that. You're going to put us in debt. Long story short, I wrote an essay, and they paid for my whole school.
What a blessing.
1-page essay. Paid for my master's degree, but what they did is they put the money in my hand versus paying the school. Okay. So I took the first check and bought a lawnmower, a weed eater, and all that, and I took the second check and paid the first semester.
Okay.
So now I'm up and running, and my mother-in-law, God bless her, but she the one that kind of bought me my first piece of equipment. So I was like, oh, ain't no turning back from here.
Yeah.
So while I was in my master's program, I was cutting grass, and one day I got close to graduation. It was like 94 degrees outside, and I was weed eating, just sweating like a pig. And I was like, this can't be life. Yeah. Like, this was cool when I had the idea, but no, this is not what I want to do. So when I initially went back to school to get my master's, I said, hey, I want to run an assisted living facility. That's what I wanted to do. Okay. So everybody was trying to talk me out of it. Like, you don't need a master's to do this. And I was like, I need a master's, because that's what I want for myself. So I went back to go get my master's, and, because I was working there too. I was working at Walking Horse Meadows at the time, off Ussery Road. And I was spending 40 hours plus with these people who became like my grandparents. Wow. So I was like, this is what I want to do because I learned so much. These are people that already lived that life before I even, I'm like 24, 25 years old. And so when I walked across the stage to graduate, I was like, this is not what I want to do. Because one thing that changed, don't get me wrong, I love the elderly, but it's something about when you get close to them and you forget that they go there to die, in a sense, because they're never coming back home to live on their own in most cases. So the heartbreak and it just became too much for somebody young like me, because I'm like, they became my grandparents. And it's like, funeral after funeral. I was like, all right, I needed something a little bit more happier. Yeah. So I said, okay, I'm going to get into insurance, because one of my buddies, Wes Fink, who was my high school quarterback, he was at Bankers Life at the time. And I was like, you know what? He was like, man, I think you'll be great at it. And I was working at Oak Plains Academy with the mental health kids at the time. And I was like, you know, I'm more partial to the elderly. So I went back in that regard, because Bankers Life dealt mostly with retirees and seniors. And that was kind of their niche. So I was like, all right, this allows me to be in that niche without being there 24/7 to where I get attached. Well, in insurance, you still get attached to. I guess I just got that personality that, you know, you follow these people the rest of their lives, because it's not like you just sell one policy and that's it. So when I work,
I think that's powerful, because that part of your character doesn't change.
No, absolutely.
You're connecting to people doing assisted living. You're connecting to people doing insurance. You're connecting to people now. You know, you think a real estate transaction is a one-time thing.
Right.
You close on that property and you're done. But someone like you, who invests in people and loves to, you know, share the experience with people and grow with them and see their families grow, you know, that's a long-standing relationship now. And you never know when that's going to turn around and they, you know, decide to transition out of that home. But sounds like, you know, that's a high value of yours, is connecting with people and seeing them along their journey.
I definitely agree. And so in the insurance business, I mean, you become part of their family, because you know everything about them, because it's not just transactional. It's like, hey, what do you need? You know, and one of the big things we used to push for myself was long-term care insurance.
Okay.
Because I came from that industry.
Right. You had the experience.
And you wouldn't believe how many people would say, my kids will take care of me.
Mm-hmm.
Well, your kids got a career.
That's right.
Your kids got a family.
Their own debt.
Your kids got a retirement that they got to think about. So it's not fair for you to pawn that off on your kids. So that's what I used to push, especially if you had assets or any type of money. Like, you got to protect that. And so I kind of came in with the mindset when I started real estate to piggyback on both of those, because most people, when they buy a home, they buy it husband and wife.
That's right.
Or with kids. But you got to think, when COVID came and you got sick and you couldn't work, or you passed away suddenly, where's the money going to come from? So life insurance is huge. Hey, get enough to cover your mortgage. Like, so all these careers that I had prior to is coming full circle.
Wow.
So when I'm talking to an elderly who wants to pay cash for a home and move closer to their kids, well, do you have a will?
Yeah.
Because you wouldn't believe how many families fall apart when they think there's something there.
That's right.
And so you need to have everything laid out. You need to have all your finances laid out. You need to have a power of attorney, a will, living will, a trust, you know, depending on what your financial situation is. So that's why I think, you know, as far as all those prior, you know, jobs that I had helped make me the real estate agent I am today.
Yeah.
So
that's powerful.
I definitely think that, you know, no matter if you're young or old, you need to start thinking like that.
Right.
Because you'll start saving like that. You'll start investing like that. And you'll start living like that.
Wow.
So if I know that something happens to me, I know that my ship's going to keep on sailing, because my wife knows where every policy is.
That's
she
right.
knows where everything is. We got the same accounts.
Yep.
There's no hidden. Well, I might have a hidden account here or there. But nevertheless, she knows about it. So
that's awesome. That's some nuggets right there, though, of being able to have that communication with your family. But as you said, you know, as your career started to transition and pivot along different ways, you really just kind of maintain this principle of serving people, looking out for their best interest, understanding how does the world and the marketplace work, and how can you help people along their way, because sometimes people don't have that knowledge, and here you are just dropping knowledge to their benefit. And obviously you're getting some benefit along the way. I love that you bring up Wes Fink. I remember him. That's funny. So for those that don't know, Lanis here, local legend, football player. Did you play any other sports at Clarksville High?
I played basketball, but Coach Young wouldn't let me shoot. So, I mean, when everybody else's ball was going like this, mine was was going like this, but I got it figured out now.
Awesome.
I'm shooting like Steph Curry, probably like 86% of the shots I shoot, I make now. So,
and is that on your son's goal? 6 foot. Yeah.
No, and I also used to run track. Now I was a bad man in track.
I believe that.
But
great career at Clarksville High. Went on to play at Austin Peay. I guess my question to you is, in your time playing local sports, what's one game, one memory, one play that just stands out to you? Like, man, when I'm telling the good old stories, this is the one that always comes out.
Well, I really don't have one particular story because when I was young, I was dumb, but I was talented.
Yeah.
So they had to play me. But I probably got suspended more than anything. And it was always the craziest things. So with that being said, I mean, as one play, because, we were Austin Peay before Austin Peay now. So, that was some painful moments. There was some growing pains for Austin Peay. But I just enjoyed just playing with my friends, most importantly. Wow. Chris Fletcher we played together high school and college. So we just became really good friends. And to see both of us come from the backgrounds we came from, living in public housing to being, All-Americans and record-breaking seasons, and just doing it together in the same season where he rushed for career yards and I, had career receptions and receiving yards and in the same season. So it was just something for us to celebrate because we're both like kind of local hometown, homegrown legends. And I definitely don't want to use that term legend, but, I did have a pretty good career considering I didn't start playing football really until the 10th grade.
Wow.
So I was, all through my years of middle school and freshman year, I was the backup quarterback to West Fink.
Yeah.
And which is weird because I can't throw.
Yeah.
I don't know how that is, but I always thought that I would be a quarterback.
Yeah.
But my older brother, Tario, he played wide receiver.
Yes. I remember Tario.
And when he graduated, they looked at me and was like, well, heck, he could play.
That's right.
Can you play?
Yeah. And Wes can throw.
And Wes can throw. Yeah. That's
how that story went.
I really commend the high school coaches because they seen that in me that I didn't see in myself.
Yeah.
I just thought that, I'm just the flunky little brother that just never panned out.
It's funny you mentioned that because it actually transitions to what I wanted to talk to you next about is this idea of how you're constantly growing who you are as a person.
Right.
And you don't want to be limited to what you think about yourself. You thought you were the backup quarterback.
Right.
Cutting up, letting Wes do his thing. Maybe I'll get a chance one day in a blowout game.
Right.
And then somebody shows you something and you realize that you can grow as a player into something that you hadn't really thought about before. And we had a conversation a couple months ago and you were one of the first people that really introduced me to this personal development idea of having a growth mindset versus a goal mindset. And it was profound to me because,
absolutely,
I've always been really goal mindset. I love to set goals and achieve them. But what comes along the way is you start to set goals that you can achieve.
Right.
Because you don't want to look at the end of the year, the term, the month, whatever it is and say, oh, that was way too big. It was unrealistic. Yeah. So tell me a little bit about how that growth mindset versus a goal mindset has changed your life, has changed your career, has changed the way you think about the world. And where'd you hear about it?
Well, my buddy, Andre Lewis, who's a good friend of mine, and I was the realtor for him when he got his first flip property.
Okay.
And after that, we just stayed in contact, and he shares little I didn't even know where to find podcasts.
Okay.
Like, I'm 32 years old, and I'm 35 now, but like when this came about, probably like 6 months ago, because I think podcasts came out a few years ago.
Yeah, that's right.
So I didn't know where to find them. And he would send me these things, and I was like, what? But this one just stuck out to me like a sore thumb because I'm one of those who I start with a vision board. I'll write down all these goals I want to accomplish. But when you write down goals, there's metrics that you got to do every day to keep on track with these goals.
Yes.
And I was just awful at it. But every day I was doing something.
Okay.
And I'm one that I set a goal and just miss it awfully. And I was like,
it's a little discouraging.
It's discouraging.
That's
so
right.
You just think that it's just so far-fetched that maybe this is just not what it's meant to be.
Or worse, you start doubting yourself.
You start doubting yourself.
Takes over.
Or you start adjusting the goal. to where it's a little more attainable.
Yes.
But where do you grow from that?
Yes.
So when he introduced the podcast by John Maxwell that was talking about growth versus goal, I was like, everything that I have been doing was not for goals, it was for growth. Like when I was doing the commercials, when I was doing the interviews and the marketing and paying for, astronomical. I got a box truck that got my picture on the side, and I was like,
brilliant idea.
This might not ever relate, to as far as a fine correlation between people seeing this ad and calling me, but it's that brand recognition.
Sure. Yeah.
And when you think about long term, it was a growth idea. When I get these shirts made, it might not translate to immediate sales, but
that's right.
People know what I do without me having to say anything.
Yeah.
So as you keep doing this, and one thing that I did learn is like marketing has no budget. Any marketing, whether good or bad, hopefully more so good than bad, but it gets people talking about what you do.
Yeah.
So you can't say, I'm going to spend $5,000 this year on marketing. You can't do that.
Yeah.
Because that's what feeds the family.
Sure.
So when you start talking about growth, that's what we want.
Yeah.
So when I think about Mark Spain and Gary Ashton, or you see them all over billboards,
that's right.
Nobody might ever call them. Yeah. But there's going to be one.
Yes.
That's going to think, I need a realtor. And who's always in my face? These guys. And
who do I know? And
they're just keep expanding their teams and keep bleeding into other markets. So, when you set goals, you end up plateauing.
Yeah.
But if you keep it growth, there is no end game. There's no destination.
Yeah.
So I would always tell people 9 times out of 10, go growth.
Yeah. And you're a guy that practices what you preach too, because you're throwing out content all the time. You're a guy that, is not only doing it for, to help people understand what you do, help people understand how you add value to our community, but some of the content that you're throwing out is really giving people wisdom and nuggets along the way. So, your Free Game Friday is, it's a funny thing that you came up with. Yeah. It's catchy, it's short, it's direct, but it's targeted and it's full of really millionaire ideas.
Right.
And you're helping people in your network or people that come across it have new ideas to expose their minds to things that, maybe as you were saying right when we started, that you didn't know until somebody told you. You didn't know it until you saw it. So tell me a little bit about Free Game Friday. What is the idea behind it? Are you constantly thinking about it, or are you just dropping stuff as it comes to your brain? How does it go?
Usually it's more of I kind of have an idea of what I want to talk about, but I don't know which way it's going to go.
That's funny.
And one thing that really helped me is when I got a TikTok.
Yeah.
And I seen, wow, that's more powerful than any platform I ever seen.
Yeah.
Because people's attention span is very low.
That's right. Yeah.
So when TikTok comes in 3 minutes and give you a chance to break down everything and have little captions pop up and just so informational. And that's kind of where I share most of my stuff is on TikTok. So when I was able to discover that and got an account, I was like, hey, let's start Free Game Friday, where I just give out all the knowledge I have, and usually 3 minutes or less.
Yeah.
And I just try to make it so informational in that little bit of time. Yeah. And that's another thing that, hey, I don't even realize I'm doing it, but it's growth.
It is.
Because it forces me to learn new things.
Yes.
And it allows me to really dig deep into where I can pretty much give it back to the community in a way that they can understand it, no matter what level of education they have. When I break it down, like something simple as a new tax form that just came out, hey, I don't know if you can use it, but here it is.
Yeah.
So let's say I got 4,000 friends. You got 3,000. You share that. You just put me in front of 7,000 people.
Yeah.
3,000 that I didn't even know.
That's right.
So with that being said, content is king all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love it because really, you'll never see this. When you invest into people, into their knowledge, into their mindset, it's not just for a transaction that may or may not come.
Right.
It really is a blessing to their life and their family. And the fruit of that, you know, like in the Bible where it talks about, you know, that when you sow the seed and it falls on good soil, it can produce 10-fold,
right,
100-fold, right?
Absolutely.
And, you know, when you're constantly giving of yourself without it being in a directly transactional type way, you're really multiplying the well-being of our community, helping other people achieve new things that they've never thought about before. And so sometimes even our mindset of what we do is a little limited because we're thinking about, you know, how can I get more views for this? But in reality, there's probably some kid out there that comes across it who doesn't live here, is not of the age to buy a home, and is going to use it in ways that you'll never even know because you're starting to drop knowledge and you're starting to give him or her a love for knowledge that will take them and help be a blessing to their family one day and their community around them. But I love it. You know, you're just changing lives one way or the other, you know, all the time with these ideas of money and how, you know, money can be used for good. And so along the ideas of money, you know, because you've had a diverse journey of money your entire life. So if you were going to drop a free game nugget right now about money, what's it going to be? What do you got for us?
What I would always say is definitely get in church and pay God. If you give God his money first, I mean, just imagine having 10 watermelons. You just need to give away one.
Yeah.
And it always comes back to you. And I told a local realtor that, my cousin Kevin Bracey, I was like, just try it.
Yeah.
You making money, try it. Give God the first 10th and watch what he did.
That's powerful.
He did it.
Yeah.
He called me. I was doing something else. He called me and he was like, cuz, that was crazy. Yeah. And I said, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Like, I didn't know where he was going with it.
Yeah.
He was like, man, I tried doing things your way. And I was like, it ain't my way.
That's right. I didn't come
That's
up with
what God
this
said.
idea. Yeah.
So last year, he finished number 7 in the whole company of Keller Williams.
Wow.
He was a mid to lower level producer for the first 5 years.
Okay.
So he started this last year and kept it going. And this year he's eclipsed 8 million in production, which is insane for somebody who don't have real systems.
Okay.
He works
hard,
but no real systems.
Okay.
And he's doing it by himself. So for him to just take that one little nugget and trust in God with what God gave him.
That's powerful.
He'll multiply it, man. He'll multiply it.
Yeah. You know, what I love about that is, you know, as with most good nuggets of wisdom, is more caught than taught, right?
Right.
And so when people see you do something, when you're able to use your experience and share that value with somebody else, you know, my lesson in that was from my dad. You know,
absolutely.
Crazy as he is, you know, I remember my whole life, he would tell me, you can't outgive God, you know?
Oh, wow.
And that is something that has just stuck with me. It was more caught than taught. Thankfully, that's just been a rhythm of mine. And absolutely. I would say in my personal experience, there's some funny God math that happens sometimes when you're running a budget and you're nervous and you want to say, do I invest into this kingdom that is not of this world? Or do I, you know, put it over here with what I think is going to be a really good idea?
Oh, yeah.
And I've just seen it. Exactly what you said. Be a blessing and multiply in ways that just you can't explain sometimes. But absolutely. of all the money advice you got, I thought that was fantastic. Well, let's talk a little bit about Clarksville. So you've been around forever. Like you've seen a lot of things, right? What are you excited about for Clarksville's future? Because we've got a bright future, and it is showing itself more and more and more. So I'm curious, a guy from your perspective, your experience, you know, what are you excited about here?
Oh, most importantly, this new arena we got coming.
Yeah.
Because what it's going to do is force downtown.
Yes.
To match it.
Yeah.
Like, hey, businesses, you need to come here. This is what's next.
Yes.
Hey, surrounding housing.
Yes.
We need you to clean up, like Airbnbs or just rentals or whatever you need. But because that area has just been so neglected for so long, and when you go to certain cities, certain towns, everything revolves around the downtown.
Yes.
So when you're talking about tourist money, local businesses, and everybody profiting from the location of downtown, right now downtown is just going to court, getting in trouble, But when you actually bring some type of nice restaurant, something that was that would compete with what's that one? The steakhouse, Edwards.
Okay. Yeah.
Edwards, something like that, where I don't have to take my wife to Nashville for a good time.
Yeah. We're going to go straight down.
We're going to go downtown Clarksville.
We're going to go down Boot Hill. We're going to go downtown. That's right.
And I think that's what I love so much about Clarksville is that it hasn't peaked at all.
No.
Like, so we don't know how big this is going to get.
Yeah.
We don't know how big this can get.
Yeah.
But coming from somebody who's seen this, place when it was under 100,000 people.
Yeah.
So now I think we're over what?
220.
220. I remember when the newspaper, I remember when we had just hit 150.
Yeah.
Golly.
And we thought that was big. But I love it, like you mentioned, the impact downtown that's being built. And then what it does is it does stir more business. I think we'll see the Riverview Inn change its face. And then, of course, we have the Maynard family invested in downtown.
Right.
And I'm most excited about the Italian place that they have coming. I can't remember that. I don't know. I'm not.
Trio,
I know
Shelby's Trio.
Yeah, Shelby's Trio is the name, 3 levels. I know the name. I don't know that I know how to pronounce the name of the Italian place that's coming.
Yeah, good luck.
But we are looking forward to it. I think it's going to be fantastic. And that is something that's just going to add a lot of life and vitality and unique flavor.
The Black Horse coming back. There's
that's
a shoe store downtown.
Yeah, Cunningham's are coming out with a second concept in the old Federal building. So similar, they currently own and operate Strawberry Alley. They've got something in the works that is, they've not really announced their concept, but it's coming down there right across from downtown
That's
Commons.
what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Exciting stuff.
That's amazing.
Hey, we're going to do a lightning round.
All right.
I didn't prepare you for this.
No, you did not.
No, this is going to be good, though. Okay. You can win an Olympic gold medal in any sport, winter or summer Olympics. Tell me what your Olympic gold medal is. You're going to wear it proudly.
200-meter track.
Boom, 200.
200.
Okay.
That was my race.
That's nice. You got it. Okay. The best local high school athlete you played against while you were at Clarksville High?
Cedric Wilkerson, Northwest running back.
He was bad.
Oh, Barry Sanders-esque.
Wow.
I mean, just a raw talent. Very good athlete.
You brought up TikTok. Who's more famous on TikTok, you or your son?
My son, for sure.
And for those who don't know, you caught him doing a marching band. And he had some cymbals out there. He had the steps, right?
Yeah, he's a sensation. He is a sensation. He don't even know it, but
he's got
funny.
no idea.
No idea. No clue.
But it was funny, I was looking at it. I was like, man, he's paid attention to it. Like he's getting his knees up. He's on beat. He loves it.
He got it going on now.
That's funny. Yeah. So you'll be outshined by your son, but you'll take that. You'll take it.
He did give me some new followers though. Thank you for everybody who followed me on TikTok. To my son.
They're gonna catch some free game Friday.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. All right. So you're known as a dude who's always hustling, right? Hustle, hustle, hustle. Try something new. One NBA player, past or present, who you think is the hustler?
Shaq.
Really?
Oh man. Yeah, Shaq hands down. I mean, you see him on Geico, Ben Gay, you name it. He's everywhere.
Yeah, got Papa John's, Five Guys.
I forgot about those. Yeah, I mean,
he's brilliant. Somehow on my social media feeds, this is a side topic. What I love about Shaq is, when you watch something, they show you the same thing over and over again. So on my reels, it's full of Shaq going into a store and being generous.
Right.
Because I've watched them and he's just such a dynamic personality and he explains why he does this and how he's so generous. And of course he has more money than we can imagine, but he has not lost fact of that and has not lost fact that part of the stewardship of acquiring this wealth is then now being generous. So he's buying people bikes and shoes and, all kinds of cool stuff. He's a hustler though. That's right.
Absolutely.
I love it. Okay. So we're both Clarksville natives. We're both excited about the growth of Clarksville. You tell me, you got one big message for people that are new to Clarksville. What do they need to know about this town and what can they do to add value to it?
What you could do to add value. Let's see. what I see in a lot of other towns that became like melting pots over time is, remember, in the South, we're nice. We're generous.
Yeah.
We are, hey, talk to strangers.
That's right.
Like, so that's what I love about Clarksville. And you can see it in certain cities. Like, I was in Naples last week, and you just see the people that come from all over the place, and it kind of lost its way of being a nice place to visit.
Yeah.
So people that's coming from Clarksville, coming to Clarksville, whether you're coming from the West Coast or up north, we're nice here.
Yeah.
We friendly.
It is our ethic.
It's our ethic. That's
genuine.
our way of life.
That's
we open doors for
yeah.
strangers, and we say thank you.
Yeah.
And also just being nice to servers and all those people too.
Right,
so.
right. Well, hey, man, I love it. You dropped some nuggets on us today. It's been fun.
I did.
Thank you so much for watching. It's been a great episode. Lanis Frederick, realtor in town, doing big things, hustling all the time, being generous with his time and talent and wisdom, dropping it on us today. You can find his contact info down in the description below. And hey, if you would, right before you leave, please take action, like, subscribe, share it with your friends, help us grow our community, help us tell the story of what makes Clarksville the best place to live in America. See you next time.